the power of attitude. Some people miss opportunities, not because they do not have competencies, not because they lack education. It is because they lack a well-aligned attitude.
Welcome to the People Champion podcast by Elevate HR. Elevate HR is a cloud-based HR platform that helps you easily onboard and manage your employees' payroll, leave, and performance. As the People company, part of our mission is to elevate the HR space through our system that makes your work easy and fast, our community that helps you connect, network, and belong with like-minded innovation-driven HR professionals, and this podcast that helps you enhance your skill set as a HR. My name is Pilin Kasara. I'm the Head of Community Development at Elevate HR Africa, and I'm ready to dive into yet another insightful conversation. I'm so honored today to be joined by two award-winning trendsetters in the HR space, Coach Richie and Lilian Kipsang. Karibuni sana.
Thank you. How are you doing?
Awesome. I'm very well.
Did I say Happy New Year to you?
No, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
All right, so tell us a little bit about yourselves and then we'll get straight into the conversation.
Thank you very much. Ladies first.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, my name is Lilian Kipsang. I am a HR manager at a media startup, and I have a number of years of experience doing HR work. I've been a HR generalist for a while, but then this is when I'm getting to a position where I'm actually, doing more focused HR work.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm quite excited. People work is lovely. It has so much potential and it has so much power, and that's why I do it. That's why I'm here today.
Wow, so much potential and so much power. I love that.
Cool.
Coach Richie, tell us a bit about yourself as well.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, as you've heard, I am an award-winning HR practitioner. I'm a career coach. I am a life coach. I am also a trainer. I am also a motivational speaker. I am a writer. I am a HR consultant. I do a host of things related to human resource development, and I am very, very excited to bring the knowledge that I have so that we can be able to make our professional development shine, also organizations shine, individual progression to shine. Thank you.
Wow, I love that. So today we'll be talking about the 2023 HR trends that every African HR professional should look out for. And maybe to start us off, I would love to know from both of you, how you guys envision the role of HR evolving this year and beyond, and how it will support the needs of an ever-changing workforce.
Thank you very much. That is a very good question. The question being asked is a question about change management. And we are told the only constant in life is change, continuous change. The HR of 1960 is not the HR you're going to get today.
Absolutely.
Organizations of 2018, there are not organizations you're going to get today. There is some transformation. For example, we have digital transformation where we're using a lot of artificial intelligence. We have remote working, which we never used to have. We have a host of things like what else? We have applications that make work easier. For example, human resource information systems. We have training and development. You do not have to go to a training venue. You can just log into a website and train at your pace. A program or a training is loaded to your website, organizational website, and then you are able to learn as you move along. Maybe my professional colleague can also continue in terms of what new trends we have in it.
I think for me, what I'm noticing is there's a lot of word around multi-generational workforces now. So we are seeing a time where we have like about 4 to 5 generations all at the workplace. And all these generations have very different needs. So the HR in a certain generation might not, if then they don't adapt to what is needed for this moment, where then we have to, drill down, do research. You have to go down to every generation and find out what matters. Maybe to me, a retirement fund doesn't matter to me now. I'm just starting out work.
Yes.
I want a gym membership. But then, I want to be able to buy a car. But then, my company is giving me a retirement fund, and I'm not seeing the point of it now. That's just an example. It could be a very shitty example or bad example. But I am seeing a lot of adapting that needs to happen for the HR. Yeah, we have to ask as many questions as possible. We have to find out what matters to each and every generation and then equip them. Yeah, it just doesn't stop at knowing and the knowledge of these generations. It has to go down to how can we transform the workplace. And I know it's very scary. It's very scary when we have a textbook approach to how we view things. I know that some companies nowadays, most companies give paid leave, paid a specific number of paid leaves, as the government recommends 21. But then some companies are coming up now and realizing that some generations get burnt out easily. And so they're being given more unlimited number of leave days. Like if you want to take 2 months, take 2 months. It's not a sabbatical, by the way. It's paid leave. Yeah. So I'm very excited personally to try and personalize all this. So okay, these guys, what is that? What is that they like? What is that motivates them? And I want to see how to tailor make all these different requirements to the people that we have. Yeah.
She has mentioned something very important. We HR people now are looking at employee experience. What experience are you getting? It is personalized.
Yeah.
Then something else I will need to add is the role of data-driven decisions. HR people are embracing the role of big data analytics. It is not a question of collecting data in organizations like that. Data is rich in providing insights. That is why any person who graduates from data analytics, they're quickly taken because the analysis that is done from data gives solutions to challenging problems. So one of the trends is that embracing, it is actually called, is it black gold? Yes, black gold. It has completely been embraced. And HR people, where there is mathematics, HR people don't like mathematics, but they have got to embrace HR deeply.
People analytics.
People
Wow.
analytics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like some of the themes that I've had you talk about revolves around how we work, where we work, and the workforce in general.
Yes.
So I'd like us to focus a little bit more on some of these things.
Yes.
And maybe we can start with where we work. And I heard you talk about the hybridized form of working. Would you say that flexibility is the future? Is it the now and the future as well?
Flexibility has become a great motivation to certain people. There are people who do not like working with a lot of people. They are very good. They don't like mixing people. They are introverted. They could like, for example, if they could like, if it's a person who does recruitment alone, and this person does not like mixing a lot of what you do is your website has everything embedded into it. It has the ATS, it has every other thing. You can be able to do recruitment end to end in your house. So that space, that electricity that is being wasted at your workplace, I can easily use flexi type of work arrangements for me to work from the house, and I'll do other things that interest me. Of course, we also have issues of performance management coming, but we have applications that monitor when you are at your desk, when you are at your, what is it? I mean, it monitors you very well. So there's productivity is being measured. So there is no need for leaders of the organization to fear that when we are allowing somebody to work from home, they're going to work less. It is that they want to work from home and it's easier for them like that. Their personality is attuned to working when they're flexible. They're dynamic, they're so fluid. My professional colleague can also add
Yeah.
something into it.
For me, I think, yes, flexibility is definitely a trend that we cannot ignore, for sure. Thank God for COVID in some ways, because then we were able to discover and rediscover work in that
Yes.
sense.
Even Zoom, we need to know
even
Zoom.
I
We
know,
need to know. We
Zoom.
need to
Oh my
know.
gosh, I'm sure they're very rich now. It's a very rich company now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that every company needs to audit their kind of business and the kind of options that they are able to give from a place of, what is their product, what is their brand. And I say this coming from a media startup because then in media, we need to, it's a very dynamic space.
Yes.
We need to brainstorm very often, and it's a creative exercise. And
Yes.
creative exercises are very hard to do online.
Yeah.
I was joking with Pili and saying you could be doing a creative exercise with people on Zoom, but then someone is making tea, someone is, very distracted. So we are not able maybe to get, the very fine ideas. So we took stock, for instance, and we knew that for sure that kind of working from home purely will not work for us. So we managed to create a situation where we catered for people's needs to be able to come to the office. So does it mean we offer you lunch? Does it mean, we try to make the workspace much better so that then people can actually feel like, okay, fine, this is our product, this is our brand. We are not able to fully transition to working from home, but then the workplace feels like a space where I can keep coming,
Yes.
even when, even when the world is changing. So I tend to feel like it's very important to take stock of what your brand is. And because I know there are some companies that have complained that their brand has been diluted because of working remotely. And there are some people that have thrived. Some people have been able to cost cut because of working remotely. But then, I think HR is at the forefront of helping companies take stock. We need to sit down and carefully consider, can we really run this operation from the office or from home? What do we need? Do we really need this thing? Do we need this office or we don't need it? So I think it's a case by case. I think I've seen people becoming very tempted to just shut down and go work from home. But at the end of the day, we also need businesses to thrive. And what it means is that whatever needs to happen must happen. Yeah.
Let's talk about that dilution a little bit, because there are some people who have said that you cannot be able to account for the intangible things like culture. So what happens then? Richie, you talked very passionately about, remote working. So what happens in that case? How do we account for culture when we're still working remotely?
Culture, it's strategy. If you are not careful, culture will eat strategy. So culture of an organization is very important. It's a key driver of performance. It's a key driver of leadership. It's a key driver of execution. When you work from home, it does not mean that you are going to work from home the 5 days of the week. There are days, maybe 2 or 3, that you're going to decide to work from the office for the interaction, such that you can be able to share, interact, the beliefs of the organization, the vision of the organization. You're not going to be a recluse completely and work forever in your house. There are days you're going to interact. For example, management meetings. For example, operational meeting, where you are going to talk about operational issues and share the vision, the target, the aims of the organization. And of course, these days we are not talking about even profit. We are inserting another component called purpose, because some people can leave an organization not because it's not making profit, because they do not see how they are adding because they're so driven by purpose. They're purpose driven besides profit. So the issue of working from home completely does not arise. What needs to be done, it is a mix of both. It's a blend.
But what about those companies that are like fully remote? People cannot actually come for that one day because maybe they work in different countries. What then? How do we then ensure that their culture is still thriving in that case?
There is the issue of people of the same organizations but working from different countries.
Yeah.
There is learning and development. Learning and development because there are standardized trainings that an organization has. Whether you are in Asia, whether you are in Europe, whether you are in America, there is that standardization of concepts that define that organization. Okay, there is Zoom training where you're being trained by the same person in different countries, which means the content that the person who is delivering the training is giving is standardized culture. So that does not present a difficulty because you're learning your strategic direction, your operational excellence is being delivered by the same content. So the issue of fearing that culture will be diluted will be there, but there are checks and balances to see that our organization has a uniform culture so that there is no clash.
I tend to think of it as a family. And what do you do with your family? You have routines, right? Maybe on Sunday you go to church together. Maybe in the evenings you pray together, or you must have a meal together, you know. So I tend to think of it as that. So even for these companies that have people working remotely, I think you just have to create routines. Because then that's what it is. It is what it is. We are fully remote. So what do we do with that situation? Then we have to create time for us to come together, loosen up. And then it's not just a once in a while thing, you know, like when you create a calendar and you just have one event and then, or you have a calendar, but you don't stick to it. I think we have to create calendar of events on our teams and make sure that we stick to it. Just the way you wouldn't neglect your family, I think then even in the workplace, it would be nice if we did not neglect people in that sense. So create routines that bring you guys together. Create, even if it's a routine where you come and brainstorm something about the product, that's nice. Even if it's training, as you're saying, bring them together, rally behind something together and create a routine around it. And then I think people will see and notice that they're going an extra mile. So the culture will be, it definitely might be different. Might not be what it was when people could see each other and high-five each other, hug each other. It's going to look different, but then you create the new different and try to make it good. Yeah, that's what I think.
Absolutely. I would like us to touch on productivity because Richie mentioned about that a bit. So how would you say that these different models have affected employee productivity and performance in the long run?
Yeah, of course, a new thing has teething problems. It's a new norm. It has got its challenges. It has not been ingrained in employees. It has not been ingrained in organization. As we progress, more accurate ways of measurement will be found. So the issue of the productivity, there's that bit, but we are having apps that measure productivity. If I'm supposed to visit 5 clients, when I'm in the office, it's the same measurement that I should use when I'm online, that I should get in touch with 5 clients, and that is it. The KPIs. When I'm in-house, it doesn't mean that key performance indicators have been thrown away. I work in the house, but I have key performance indicators. I'm supposed to bring an account of 500,000 per month. When I'm in the office, that is what I'm supposed to bring. So disruptions will be there because it's a new thing. But as we progress and the new norm becomes the real new norm, people embrace it, people will learn new ways, work ethics. It's a question of being trained on work ethics. And then even if you're working from home, you're your own manager. Nobody's going to micromanage you. We want to see outcomes. We don't want excuses.
Well, let's actually talk about the trends that we're seeing arising when it comes to performance management. I was reading another article that talked about, performance enablement versus necessarily performance management. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Lillian. How do you, first of all, measure performance in your organization?
Interesting. We've created a routine around it. So check-in, so for us, it's more of, we actually call it performance conversation.
Yeah, there is that shift.
Yeah, it's no longer reviews. It's no longer it's a component of performance management, but then we are really trying to move away from just calling it reviews and then it becoming this very difficult conversation to have. Yeah. So for us, what's important is making sure that these conversations happen annually, but then we have check-ins throughout the year. Yeah. But then we have an annual check-in at the end of the year where we know this one is also an intention setting. Yeah. We are also setting our intentions for the next year and seeing how that goes. So it goes on record. There's a thing we've developed. It goes on record. People use this tool to fill. They fill out how they're doing together with their managers. They also rate and give feedback to their managers. And then we end up having a very wholesome process and conversations as an organization. Yeah, I think what I'm seeing is it's been interesting because, yes, we have employees who are older, and then we have employees who are younger, and seeing how, when we're trying to change, we're seeing how people are very stiff. They're just like, no, but I want you to come and tell me, cha. Like, I want you to come and, like, there's a way performance reviews have been done before that's been very punitive.
And very subjective.
And, yeah, exactly. And people, like, so someone will just ask you, so this is everything we're doing. So you just want me to go and sit down with my manager for an hour and just talk. Like, I'm not used to this. So I think we also need to rethink how we are achieving better performance. I think we need to rethink the ways in which we are doing it. Definitely any time I would vouch for humanizing the process. And that's why for me, a conversation is much better than just feeling something.
Yes.
It's if I have a target of doing 500,000 shillings every month, I did not meet that target. We know I didn't meet it. So even if we go to the, we fill that form, then implement very punitive measures, we still haven't gotten down to it. Why did you really achieve this? So it's very important for me and for our organization to move towards more conversations. And then we get work done that way. Yeah.
Let me throw in some light on what Leah has said. The reason why people are shifting from performance appraisals because they are postmortems. It is a postmortem after the fact. So a conversation is where Pili, you sit down, we had agreed that these are your targets, here's what you're going to do. You didn't achieve, why you didn't achieve. It's a conversation such that we arrest the problem before it becomes a corpse. There are so many mistakes that come out of performance appraisal. You're forgotten, you have prejudices, but when we are across like this, we are able to determine what can improve our performance rather than relying on our memory and the way she said, punitive ways of going to this and subjective. We have a conversation, we come up with an understanding immediately rather than waiting for 12 months.
I understand. Would you say innovation can also play a role in performance management, and what role would it play as well?
Performance management and innovation. Innovation is fresh ways of implementing new things. And as I said earlier, the most constant thing in life is change. You have to embrace. A friend of mine said that if you don't embrace change, you're embracing failure. So when you decide to bring new services, when you decide to bring new products, you have a competitive advantage through performance. So actually, that is why it is important, Vivian, and you can bear me witness that in performance management, if you reward people who innovate, people who create solutions, we are at the cutting edge of performance, rather than the people who do mundane, routine things. So it is important for us to that if you invent a product or if you bring a new service that brings this much, you will be rewarded, you will be given an incentive. All right?
I like that. Wow. All right. So another thing I'd like us to address is on learning and development. And I think both of you mentioned that earlier on. And, you know, as the world continues to evolve, as we continue to incorporate technology, it means that a lot of skill gaps are still becoming more and more common. So what is the role of the HR in addressing and closing some of these gaps that you're seeing?
That's a good question. I don't know if it's Lian or Richard we should
You can
have it.
start.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a very good question. And I always believe most organizations that belong to the old school of thinking, they think learning, and we don't call training and development, we simply call it learning and development. Because training is very specific. Learning is continuous. I mean, you are more enriched, you are more empowered in terms of upscaling, retooling. The world keeps changing. What is competition actually? Competition is about new skills. If the skills I was using in 2020 are not the skills I'm using in 2022, we have mentioned the issue of COVID. Nobody knew about Zoom. People have got to be trained now. People have even stopped saying, are you hearing me? People have learned to use Zoom. People have learned to use Google Meet. People have learned to use Webex, all forms of teleconferencing abilities. And they can be trained even in your house. You do not have to go to a hotel somewhere. You can be trained right in your house. New skills, you can get new skills. You can be able to internalize what is important for your organization in terms of product development, in terms of how you do your things. So the question of learning and development is a question that organizations need to invest, especially technological learning. That, like for your website, for example, if you have a company website, you embed a learning and development program where an employee learns at their own pace. They come in, they learn new skills. What is new? What are emerging trends? In fact, one of the questions you've asked is emerging trends. How do you learn emerging trends? You go to your website, there are programs, there are training programs that have been uploaded, and you get to learn, and you are awarded marks. And even you can even decide to say, those people who finish the learning and development programs, you get this reward. You encourage, you entice people to acquire skills. You know, people don't love reading a lot unless there is a punishment. You put some incentive. I can throw back that question to you as well so that you can add something.
I think it's also nice to spot opportunities within the company that can enable people to learn and acquire more skills. So this could be probably there's a new product coming up or you're rebranding, but then there are people with can I call it extra skills, or they're very multi-skilled, multi-talented, and these are people who I think have a lot of potential. So there's this new concept called quiet hiring. There was quiet quitting, but now there's quiet hiring.
So there's a solution to it.
Yeah. So what it calls for is for HR professionals to be very alert to what other skills people have within the organization. So then when you have these positions that come up, then we don't have to keep looking for people outside, the company. We can get people who are already primed enough to take up that role. Yeah. So then it obviously reduces turnover. It definitely leads to motivated workforce. And I think I'm starting to see that. We've employed it a lot. I'm a champion of that. Noticing what else people bring. So even when you're having these performance conversations, it's a good question to also ask, what else would you like? What else do which other role looks enticing to you? Because you might realize there's a video editor somewhere who actually did accounting in school, but they wonder where they'll ever apply that accounting. And deep down, maybe they're doing video editing because it's a thing that could pay the bills at that point. But then this person has the ability to become an accountant and serve your company. So I'm very pro looking internally. And what that means then is we have opportunities internally for people to grow. So beyond getting like a Skillshare account or getting a masterclass account for people to come and learn, what else can we learn amongst each other? Yeah.
There's something else she has reminded me, Ria has reminded me. The organizations can decide to hire P as a communication expert. One position, right? Then 3 people come who are very good. They had a budget for one person, P alone. Then this person is very, very good. Some organizations that are forward-looking, they decide to hire 2 people out of Yes. Is it so? Yes. They decide that this person is a talent we can use. We cannot allow this person to go to another competitor. So that is learning and development. Yes. It is succession management as well.
Okay. And I think, let me just add, I think you mentioned something earlier about it becoming a part of onboarding. Like this is what I've found companies doing, and I think we all try to reduce the costs. So we will not share this information out there very upfront that there are these opportunities or this is our learning and development budget for the year. So it has to be now someone has to go look for HR. I'm looking to pursue this. And it becomes a very, what is it? Is there a budget? So I feel like as HR professionals, we need to set this record very early on that when you come here, we also want you to grow and thrive as a person. So keep looking and being very aware of what you want for yourself, what you want for the company, what the company requires of you, and know that we are here to support you. So it's something that we have to communicate all the time. You meet people who are very burnt out, and it's because they feel like this is everything, like I've done everything. But I don't feel like you've done everything. I feel like there's a lot more that you can do. So we have to keep communicating this, and it starts from day one when someone joins. Just tell them, hey, I want you to keep thinking about your growth here. I want you to keep thinking about your professional development and go for it. Yeah. Because it's not just for us to keep looking for people. It's, you also come, have initiative and come forward. Yeah.
In fact, there are organizations, Philly. I mean, people, professionals, they do not ask how much you're going to give me. They'll ask what other career progression programs you have. They can even go organizations where they're paid less, but there are career development opportunities.
Wow. All right. So I think Lilian had talked about the multi-generational workforce, and I think you mentioned a little bit about it, but I would want you to go further. So what is the role of HR in addressing the needs and expectations of the younger employees, like in terms of career development and growth as well?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah.
Okay.
The role of HR is to provide a HR, a certified and qualified, not another professional who becomes a HR, but a certified HR has a role to play in career development and so many functions within the organization. One, becoming a change agent within. They spearhead particular initiatives that makes the organization be at the forefront of excellence. Provision of resources. You see, this generation have probably their skills gap. How do we seal these gaps? It is provision of resources that will make people change their belief systems. That what we have is a problem of belief system. How do I change belief systems? It is the availability of resources, mental resources that will make me change. 2, arranging for training and development activities, all right? So that I can be able to develop new belief system, because what we have is self-limiting beliefs. And for me to come out of a self-limiting belief, I need resources, I need training, I need coaching, I need mentoring for me to be able to come from an area that I think I know to an area that is uncomfortable, but I'm learning new belief systems. Yes, that is the role of the HR. But of course, there is going to be resistance to change. HR people are trained in managing resistance to change.
I think it calls for presence. It's, as I said, it's not textbook. I keep wondering in my day-to-day why I spend most days on my laptop while I'm a HR professional. I'm here to work for the people. And yes, it's very, very important. I think that we need to pull out of our machines. And I know it might look different for someone who works remotely and they have to do their work through a laptop. But what I'm saying is presence is then going to be very important in dealing with this multi-generational workforce, for sure. Yeah. There's a number of gaps, for sure. Like, I know that the current trend or current banter is around Gen Zs. Yeah, I don't know. Is there a Gen Z here?
No.
I'm in between. Yes, I'm in between. I'm like a Gen Z and a millennial. And many people are saying that Gen Zs lack resilience. You know, you wake up, you find you had a conversation with someone yesterday about maybe they reported late at work. The next day you wake up and find a resignation letter. Or you find that they don't even tell you. You call them 3 days later and they're like, oh, I left. Notice period, nothing, you know. So definitely, I think there's some work that needs to go into attitudes, people's attitudes towards their work, towards the company. I don't know where the purpose. I feel like I tend to think that if I have purpose and I can connect it to what the company is doing, then it's a win-win situation. Yeah, not everyone will have an alignment of purpose and of their own purpose to what the company is doing. So we kind of need to help our younger generation to start looking at, you know, yes, sometimes it's not always obvious that your purpose will align with what the company is doing. Sometimes it's just your skills are aligning. You know, you can do this, so do it. But sometimes you could be working for a brand that, you know, growing up, you were very passionate about a certain issue, but now you've come and met a brand that is working towards helping with that. So you are one of the lucky ones. Yeah, so I think there's definitely some work that needs to be done. It's not a skill, but it's an attitude thing. I think skills gaps are things we can identify and help to solve very easily, but then attitudes also help with the skills. Because imagine...
Recently, I wrote an article for the Business Daily on the power of attitude. Some people miss opportunities, not because they do not have competencies, not because they lack education. It is because they lack a well-aligned attitude. You know, you can be a genius, but you cannot work in a team. If you look at most job descriptions, one of the first requirements of a good employee is team, the ability to work with a team, the ability to be a strategic partner to other people, because you're not going to work in a silo. You're not going to work in a closed state. You're going to work with other partners. You must be a team player, even if you're a genius. All right? So the power of a positive mental attitude is very important, regardless of your superior competencies, regardless of your skills. So attitude training is very important. People have lost opportunities big time, not because they do not have skills, but because they do not have networking skills. They do not have soft skills, so to speak.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. But for the record, I'd like to say I work with a lot of Gen Z. Like you may know, Elevate HR is built by young people.
Yeah.
And I would want to say that for the record, they are some of the most agile people I've ever met.
Yeah, I
So
do.
that's,
Yeah,
and they have
creativity.
Yes.
In fact, the older people are more conservative and more stable. The Gen Z, all right, the current, the new kids on the block are very agile, they are very fluid, they are able to adapt to change very fast, they embrace technology very fast. So it is a question of synergy, creating a synergy between people who are stable, who are old, who are working in an organization,
Yeah.
and the people who have got a creative mentality, people who are more innovative, people who are more ingenious, people who are more dynamic. So it's a question of marrying the two sides of the coin so that
Yes,
the coin can
yes,
become
yes.
complete. All right?
Absolutely. All right.
Yes.
So the last thing I'd like us to talk about is innovation. How do you see innovation impacting HR in 2023 and even beyond?
All right. Since you have looked at me and assumed that you want to go first.
Yes, please.
All right. Innovation, if you look at the Bloom taxonomy, creative thinking is rated as the highest form of intelligence. The other is understanding, memorizing, which is found in exams. Most people, their photographic minds. Genius is found in creativity. They offer solutions to problems that those people who memorize knowledge have. So creative thinking is something that organizations should embrace deliberately and intentionally and invest and have a budget and have even policies that we have a policy for innovation. We have incentives for innovation. We must have a philosophy of rewarding innovative. Why? Because there is a problem of people becoming the same tilapia, so to speak. They're doing the same thing. Because Pili has opened an M-Pesa shop. Me and also opens an M-Pesa shop. There is need for us to embrace blue ocean strategy. Blue ocean strategy is when you bring ideas that have not been tried and then they are productive, all right? But actually, venture capitalists are very interested in people who bring new solutions, new services, new products, because people will get tired. People will get tired of those products that have been used all the time. That is why I'll encourage organizations and HR people to embrace innovative budgeting, policy development about innovation, rewarding, giving incentives to people who innovate. In fact, organizations like Microsoft, I think, like Google, say that you 20% of your time should be dedicated towards thinking about something new, a project that you can spearhead that can bring new products, new services.
I think it's an absolute must for sure. And I tend to think about innovation as ultimately I would want to get to out of innovation. And what these tools do for a HR professional is they increase capacity. Yeah? Because you're able to do tasks faster, then you have capacity for more strategy.
Yeah.
You are able to do business partnering. Yeah, you're able to do, all these very critical parts as compared to, you just dealing with very manual tasks that then take lots of time. That requires you to hire a very big HR team that maybe you don't even need. Yeah, so I think I look at it as a friend. I look at it as tools. I look at it as something that will be able to give us capacity, and capacity any day. Yeah.
She has mentioned something, and I've remembered the new kid on the block, ChatGPT. You can read a dismissal letter, only that you can bring your expertise to it. This means if I can be able to draft a letter, ChatGPT drafting a letter, dismissal letter, then I bring my expertise. I'll have more time to think in a strategic manner, such that I avoid clerical work, mundane work that is a waste of time. It should be done, but it takes time, it takes energy from me. So it is better for me to adapt to technology. For example, imagine if I had a payroll processing tool. And at the click of a button, my salary is processed. What will I be doing the extra time that I have now? Instead of going, oh, this is commission, this is shortages, all that kind. If I had a well done, like
Elevate HR?
Without that's what I was headed to.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes. If I have something like that, it means I have more time for innovative thinking, for thinking critically, for research, right?
Absolutely.
It saves time. And what saves time saves money. And there is nothing that interests investors than the sound of saving money.
My goodness, I love that, because ultimately we're talking about the bottom line. Like that's what should be our biggest concern, even as HR professionals. All right, so finally, I'd just like a parting shot from you two. I think this has been a very insightful session. What is the one thing that every HR should look out for or prepare for in 2023?
Then we are going to have a lot of innovations. We are going to have a lot of innovations. And some of the repetitive things that HR people do are going to be swept away by these innovations. It is important for HR people now to start thinking what kind of skills, what kind of acumen they add such that it's aligned to the business, such that their contribution does not only focus on people experience, it makes people experience impacts business excellence. It impacts business profitability. It impacts business productivity, efficiency, and effectiveness. That is when we'll have more HRs becoming CEOs.
I love that. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ninian.
Change. I think change, as you said earlier, change will be, we are going to see change. I think change is still a theme this year. And what we need to do is to become agile. We need to, adapt quick, experiment, kick it out of the park or not, and, keep innovating and keep trying to make the workplace a better place. But realizing that change is inevitable, nothing is cast on stone. We can try as much as possible with policies, but then we need to relook. We need to shift. Many people are now going back to the office. What does that mean? I think a lot of the workforce has been impacted by that, positively, negatively. Some of them are happy with that decision, some of them are not. So what do we need to do in that case? We had a system that was working. Maybe for you it was just work from home and it worked. But now HR, the CEO is saying, now I want people back in the office. What do? You adapt. Yeah. So I think the one thing that is guaranteed for this year is definitely change. Yeah. And I keep laughing about that ChatGPT thing, because do you know, even when you're going to interview someone, you can actually just type and ask questions to ask a sales manager with this number of years of experience with and it gives you, it's very, it simplifies work, but how can we use it for our benefit as HRs? Yeah. How can we use it even to better ourselves individually? Yeah. So I think definitely we are going to see a lot of artificial intelligence. It's just a trend that started last year, but I think we are yet to see. This is our sidebar, but then I've seen someone who's innovating an AI product to use to monitor driving, to be used for insurance. Yeah, so when you're going to pay for insurance, they're going to monitor how you drive your car using that AI tool. So can you just imagine how much AI is going to, overtake the world? Yeah, so I think we need to adapt. We need to take it. We need to use products from companies like Elevate HR. I think we need to find whatever we can to make our work easier and to adapt as fast as we can.
Let me throw in something which, if I don't say, I'll feel very bad. Wellness, financial wellness, intellectual wellness, occupational wellness. That is something that HR should invest in, because we are having people committing suicide. We have people who do not know how to manage their finances. Over and above technology for business, wellness, because very sure that wellness determines the productivity of the organization.
Absolutely. Wow, what an insightful session. Thank you so much, Coach Richie and Lillian, for coming in. We are absolutely privileged to have you. Asante sana.
The pleasure is all mine as well.
Absolutely. So I would like to end this conversation by echoing the words of one wise man who said that with the right technology and the right people, you can overtake the world. But without the right technology and the right people, the world will overtake you. We at Elevate have the right technology. So sign up with Elevate and we will help you overtake the world. We'd also like to give a special shout out to Mivida Homes for hosting us in their beautiful clubhouse. They have beautiful apartments, so please come check them out. They're situated next to Garden City Mall.